Hello and welcome back to the channel. This Castle Rock Vermont IPA review is part of a larger video as a part of the Tipsy Wiki series that I'm doing. If you want to see the whole video, click up there. Otherwise, stay tuned just for the review of the beer. Today's beer is a Vermont IPA from Castle Rock Brewery. They are a Nottingham brewery local to myself. Before I crack this open, a quick look at the can. Some very fetching artwork on these new Castle Rock kind of craft style cans. The back reads, IPA brewed with Vermont yeast, fresh pine and lively citrus, backed up by juicy exotic fruit and underlying herbal dankness. I've never heard dankness used in a good way, especially describe a beer before, but I'm sure we'll see. I have 3 different beers from Castle Rock coming up. The one thing I will say is that they were all a little pricier than I say we're used to paying for Castle Rock stuff, and actually having inspected them a bit closer today, they're all pretty low in volume. This one's a 5.7 as it's an IPA, which is still maybe a touch shy for a real IPA, but that's fine. The other two are a session and a session IPA, so they're only around the 4% mark, meaning they're pretty pricey for what you get. Now I'm hoping what that actually means is that the quality in there is simply incredible as a result, and let's hope that that is the way. On the front it reads Castle Rock Vermont IPA Simcoe and Strata, which I assume are the hops that have been used. Brewed and canned at Attic Brew Co, Sturchley, Birmingham. Oh, that's interesting. So this is a Castle Rock branded beer, not brewed at Castle Rock. Attic Brew Co. I hadn't noticed that before starting this episode. That is interesting. But it's fair to say that Castle Rock flavor has something to do with it, so let's crack in. Very pale, getting some serious citrus and pine notes even from a distance. Nice white head on that. Now that's settled a bit, let's get some of the aroma going. Ooh, getting mango-y pineapple, a bit of that kind of typical passion fruit thing, but seems a bit sweeter than normal. There's a bit of subtle pine lingering in there that's ever present. Right, let's give this a sip. Ooh, that is pleasant. I'll go into a bit more detail about the beer shortly, but it's fair to say that is a surprising nice, semi-juicy, refreshing. It's definitely beer rather than a juice bomb kind of thing, but yeah, it's pretty damn good. So let's see if Castle Rock themselves have a page, and we'll go from there. Castle Rock Brewery do have their own Wikipedia page, so we'll give you a bit of spiel about them, what it says on there. It says, Castle Rock Brewery is a brewery and pub group based in Nottingham, Nottinghamshire. It was originally set up as a joint venture with Bramcote Brewery. Did not know that, I'm pretty close to Bramcote, so that is interesting. Bramcote Brewery was wound up and a new company was set up, 50% owned by Time Mill and 50% owned by the previous owners of Bramcote Brewery, on a new site next to Time Mill's pub, the Bat and Fiddle, which is where their brewery still is today, on the Queensbridge Road, close to the Nottingham railway station. That's very interesting. It says their current regular brews as of 2015, so this is a bit out of date, was Dark Gold. That is a fantastic beer. Harvest Pale, I'm not keen on, but if you like your pales, you probably will. Preservation Bitter, that is also very good. Sherwood Reserve Stout, also excellent. Elsie Pale Ale, again, not my bag, but is pretty decent. Screech is kind of that old school IPA. That one's really not for me, I have to be honest. Sheriff's Tipple Bitter is good, and then they have a Session IPA. Session Craft Beer, Castle Rock's first permanent kegged beer. Not familiar with that one, if I'm totally honest. Let's have another sip of this. This has got really good body on it for an IPA. Obviously, there are plenty out there that are well bodied, but quite a lot fall a bit short and end up a bit thin. This isn't suffering that problem. The sweeter notes are starting to dissipate a bit, but the kind of the tartar grapefruit isn't really taking over. That's kind of saying secondary. I feel like the woody pine is starting to lift up a bit. But what I said before about hoping this was going to be a high quality beer, given the price and relative to the ABV, it is. That's really class. Okay, now it's really settled down a bit. The aroma is getting a bit actually sweeter again. I say this about a lot of beers, but it really does remind me of a Mongo. The longer this stays out, taste profile diminishes a bit. It's still very nice. It's just less intense all around and a bit less complex. See if shaking it up actually drives anything more. The initial taste is a little bitter, but kind of mainly the grapefruit bit, but not overpoweringly so. And then kind of the middle is where the sweeter notes, kind of the mango, pineapple. There's a bit of pine starting to seep in, but not a lot. A bit of lemon. general tropical citrus bag, kind of in the middle, but nothing too crazy. And then the finish goes back to being a little bitter, it's actually got a residual bitterness on the tongue rather than necessarily tasting bitter, if that makes sense. It's the aftertaste that's bitter, but the absolute end of the taste profile is that piney woodiness really starting to come through. That's really going down very well. It's starting to mature in its taste. It's both mellowing and some of the things are coming through. That piney finish now, it's starting to get a bit of a cheesy umami-ness. I mean, it's not really cheesy, but if you try it and leave it out for 20 minutes, half an hour while you're blabbing on Wikipedia, you'll know what I mean. Just before we finish this off, final thoughts on this beer. Starting to get just lemon and pine now. It's really been out for a while. The finish on it's really good. It leaves a bit of lingering taste, but nothing too much. As I said before, the body on this is just really good for the beer type. It's not especially carbonated at all, actually. It's pretty flat, but it doesn't feel lazy, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, just pine finish now, really coming through. And to be honest, I've really enjoyed that. I hope I get to see that on tap at some point. I'm a bit disappointed it's not actually brewed in Nottingham, so we'll be asking some questions about that, I'm sure, but nonetheless, that is an absolutely fantastic beer. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it if you haven't already. Subscribe if you would be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.